If you use TikTok, chances are you probably watch the TikTok edits, the AMVs, funk edits, mographs, you name it. There's a lot of editing types out there, and with that comes a community for it. The community itself is very chill, different approaches and styles being shared. I was lucky enough to hop on the community myself. And with that, I got more immersed into several editing accounts covering different trends that pop out every now and then. But there's this one TikTok editor or artist, actually, they're both, that stands out for the wrong reasons. Luki. Yep, we're doing a video on this person. Alright, if you didn't know, Luki is a prominent figure in the art/editing community on both TikTok and YouTube, having gained hundreds of thousands of followers across both platforms. And in the last few weeks, they've been trending for the worst reasons. They do animations using their actual body with an art/editing style called tweening. Here's the definition. I don't really feel like reading through all of this myself. I also want to include that this video is mostly informative. I'll be giving my opinions, of course, but y'all are free to disagree, to be honest. I don't really give a lot of the things I say are also for entertainment. At the end of the day, I don't really hate this person. I just think they need to work towards a better direction on how they handle their shenanigans online, especially with how big their online presence is. But anyway, the $1,000,000 question. What did this person do that makes for a worthy YouTube video? Well, here's a full list. You can quite see that there's a lot of reasons as to why this video even is a thing at all. And if she somehow sees this video and brings her fans to harass me, I'm staying on the trenches to deal with this motherfuckers myself. And I know some of you are thinking, bro, this shit was weeks ago. Why are you still bringing this up? Well, dear viewer, I'm glad you asked. Remember when I said that I was lucky enough to hop on the community myself? Well, it also means that every now and then, when I scroll through my TikTok, I get flashbanged with this. Yep, she's still going, and because of that, I thought it'd make a good YouTube video to gather my thoughts. Alright, listen. So, her responses were her apology was almost every single way she addressed this situation is but yeah, this situation is just a mess in a lot of ways. I'm gonna be explaining each one with evidence on the table. And thanks to this person for sharing most of the evidence, because Jesus Christ, I've been scrolling through TikTok and YouTube for God knows how long, and I found little to no evidence whatsoever. So many people hating and making parodies of her shit apology while the actual evidence is just nowhere to be seen. But yeah, go subscribe to this person. They did me a huge favor. I'll leave their video in the description for you guys to watch after this one. Anyway, let's gather the evidence to prove these claims. First up is racism and xenophobia. I'm pairing these two up because I feel like the evidence I'm about to pull up kind of checks out both of these reasons. I'm not gonna explain further, here's the clip.
И я говорю, а ты вот видишь лицо того парня в толстовке? Там стоит дальше парень, негр, в черной толстовке. И он так оборачивается и начинает ржать, потому что, видимо, не видит. И он начинает подходить, она так на меня смотрит, типа, черный юмор. И я начинаю ржать, потому что юмор реально черный. Вот, это такой угар, конечно.
Now she says the hard R and laughs at their black humor. Like, okay, bro, I'm laughing now, not with her, but because of how this was addressed. Literally could have kept that to herself. Better yet, just not think that way at all. But no, I'll bring this up to my Telegram for my thousands of followers here. 300 IQ move right there. There's more evidence, by the way. Here's a recording highlighting more of her prejudice, this time towards the British.
Я иностранная комьюнити раздражает своей нелогичностью и упортостью.
Блять, сколько же ёбаных аутистов, нахуй, в Murder Mystery 2, еще и англичане. Блять, да чтобы они все передохли, как мухи. Это пиздец, чтобы они все сдохли.
So, this is just brutal. With that level of hating, you'd think she'd be the perfect contender against low-tier god or some shit. There's also screenshots of her shenanigans and, oh my god, how the hell do you still have an audience after this? I mean, I know she closes her comments now after getting absolutely dogpiled on social media, but she still has people supporting her. That's crazy levels of meat riding if I've ever seen one. Let's move on to the transphobia and harassment segment of this discussion. Again, I'm merging both of these claims just because the evidence checks out both of them anyway. So for context, there's this other person on TikTok, Dali. They're an artist on TikTok as well. And before we gather the evidence, let me just say this with all honesty. These two are idiots. When addressing this whole situation at least. It all started when Luki called out Dali for copying her art style, but that's not the worst part about all this. This idiot responded by making an animation slandering Luki by putting them in a sexual situation.
Nuke the whole generation. If it were up to me, I would drop an atomic bomb on the whole generation.
Oh my god, bro. This is just diabolical.
Plug.
If I had to choose between watching War of the Worlds from start to finish and watching Dali's response video, I'm watching War of the Worlds 100 times, dude. I'm kidding, I ain't watching that. But yeah, Dali's response was trash. But yeah, this makes Luki extremely mad, and she brings her meat riding fans to harass Dali, going as far as to spam the person's telegram, sharing the person's face, and making transphobic remarks. They went on to say that this was just towards Dali, but who even gives a shit at this point, right? You f***ed it all over for yourself too. And look, I get that being put in a situation like this can distress someone to making irrational decisions, but that doesn't excuse the fact that she did these things and it has tarnished both Luki and Dali's reputations. And now both of them were on some deep shit. Go figure. Ever heard of Adolf Hitler? Terrible guy. Now, what if I told you that this person posed with swastikas and drew the man himself? Yeah, terrible thing to do, right? And it's kind of weird considering that she's Russian, so you'd think that she would know a thing or two about not joking about supporting Nazis. She did say that the art was for her history class, and whether that's true or not, why share it on your Telegram with no other context, right? Yeah, makes sense as to why people framed you for being a Nazi, to be honest, especially when you post with 2 swastikas as well. Now we're getting to the 7 minutes in heaven part. So basically, this trend is where you spend 7 minutes with a person alone, and oftentimes people do this trend with romantic approaches tied to it. You know, usual internet stuff. The problem with Luki's approach to this was she did it with a 14-year-old who was 2.5 years younger than her. Now, I know that Luki is 17, so that doesn't classify her as a pedophile. But if you think about it, teens develop so fast, especially in the mental and physical aspects, so a 2.5-year age gap, whether one of them was legal or not, is still pretty weird. I have no idea what went through her head to even post this, dude. Some people accused her for doing it with her own brother since, let's be for real, they look related, but she said otherwise, so we can only hope that she's telling the truth here. After all the backlash, Luki decided to quote-unquote apologize by posting 2 different edits that were obviously not taken very well as they were parodied to oblivion. She did eventually release a full-length apology that was inconveniently presented in a scrolling animation. Jesus Christ, this was way too hard to read at once. I had to dissect each part differently. Here's the full apology. It's pretty bad, honestly. Admitting to making those videos as a meme just to reach a wider audience just proved that there was no true value held onto those apologies. Zero sincerity and zero accountability was made. This just makes her look stupid because she never did her research regarding the origins of the word and how global communities work despite being so popular. And this part is just a straight up lie considering the evidence we have. If you ask me, the only way she can redeem herself is to take time off the internet, honestly. Go through rehab or something. Just find some way to reevaluate yourself. Please.